Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Buddy Study Group. And for today's topic, I'm bringing back a topic we generally do every single year because reception is generally good on it. And I know people have picked up at least one or two things from this every year that they can take with them. And this is our Tech and Tools exhibition. So we're not just going to talk about specific tools and technology. Rest assured, we absolutely will cover that as part of the call. But one of the kind of pieces of messaging that I try to cover on this call every year is the mindset you kind of need to have to adapt and work with and implement new tech into your business. Because I think with the wrong mindset, you might get yourself down the wrong road. You might end up distracting yourself. You might end up incurring undue costs as you just kind of try to keep up with the times and adapt technology as you hear about it. So I really want to kind of give you the tools mentally that you need to evaluate, hey, do I need to add tech to this piece of my business or um, what pieces of my business actually need technology rather than technology for technology's sake? Because with Mark and Gretchen and I and everybody at Buddy INS, we have a rolling spreadsheet of the tech that we use, and we're constantly evaluating its usefulness and how it works within our business. And the list can get quite long, and you might end up paring that list down over time. And it provides an exercise for you to look back and say, was this a win? Was this just a temporary win? Um, if we could have gone back, would we have added this tech? There's a lot of interesting insight that comes from it. But to kind of talk about the mindset for tech, I think it's really important. I'm sure many of you have heard about the 80/20 principle, right? So you really want to find the items that are kind of 20% of the cost or 20% of the work that bring 80% of the results. So when you're evaluating technology for your business, I really want you to think about specific tasks. And they should probably come to mind easy when I start describing this mental process. But I want you to think about tasks that you are constantly repeating multiple times a day. I want you to think about something you do anywhere from 3 to 100 times a day, right? I'm sure everybody has some of these. And I want you to think about how annoying is it for you to perform that task, or how time consuming is it for you to perform that task? And those items that you're constantly doing that provide a rock in your shoe and can consume a lot of your time, that is really where you need to start. You need to start with your process first. You need to understand your process, and then you can start to think about tech. I don't want to see it as I saw this commercial for this great tech piece, I should add it. Though sometimes tech comes to us in that way. You really need to start with what is bogging me down and should I be spending time on that? And if the answer is no, that's where you start to look even in your normal everyday practice. Should I hire an assistant? Or should I find some sort of piece of technology that I can incorporate that can help me with those repeatable tasks? So I think it's up to you to understand, number one, is this job replaceable with technology? But if it is, and you're going through this mental exercise, it's commonly done every single day by you. A technology piece could handle it. It's very annoying to you. Most all of you on this call that I'm talking to, you're some of the top long-term care specialists in the country and therefore the world. So think about what you should be doing most often. Generally, that is meeting with good people, good families, talking to them about the need for long-term care and helping them to understand why long-term care insurance might be a good fit for their financial plan, as well as connecting them to great long-term care resources, right? If you are spending 80% of your time on that, you're going to, have excellent results. The more time you can dedicate to just that, feeling like you're putting meetings on a conveyor belt and having productive discussions and working toward your revenue generating activities, that's the position I want you to find yourself in. And that's what I want you to evaluate when you're talking about, can I add tech to my business to help me along that line? Um, so I really wanted to get that mindset down. Mark, do you have anything to add to what I've kind of gone over there?
I love that mindset. I agree with it wholeheartedly. And sometimes it does take a mental shift to get into that mindset. Um, and I know where you're going with this in terms of meetings, but you may even discover that you don't need to have as many meetings.
That
There's nothing that replaces the personal touch. But if you can find
Gretchen
ways,
just hopped out of her chair when you said that and
oh my
started
gosh.
cheering and clapping.
Yeah, and maybe that means automating or adding technology to your emails, to the questions you get day in and day out. I see a lot of solutions, coming about there that we're testing right now, kind of at the forefront of how do we reduce our meetings and increase productive aspects of our business, through just giving the answers quicker.
Yeah. So there are a few examples I'll give to kind of talk about this mentality. Um, so sending emails. Obviously, a personal touch is hugely important in getting people to engage with you, not turning them off in a sense. Like, I just want to get this salesperson off of my plate, out of my hair. Those things are really important. There's some things that just cannot be replaced, and a personal touch with communications is one of them. But you may send the same type of email over and over and over to somebody. And if you are manually creating that email from scratch every single time, you are costing yourself a lot of time and you're using a lot of your most essential energy when you're at your productive energy peak in the day. And even simple things like creating email templates that start off with a very general, completed message, subject line, signature, body of the email. All you're spending time on when creating that email, if you have templated emails for each situation, is that personal touch that I'm leaving for this person. So my email's already completed from the very start, and all I have to say is, um, yeah, I remember you said your son Matthew was going into college. I hope his first couple weeks of the semester have been good, instead of typing everything else out that you actually had to say as far as that outreach, right? So little things like that, if I can give you back 10 seconds per task, right? Say you're spending 10 seconds on a task, you do the task 6 times a day, that's a minute a day times 365, that's 365 minutes divided by 60. We're saving you, you know, uh 5, 6 hours every single year on just that one task. So don't underestimate the power of saving 10 seconds per time you engage in a task. To me, that is well worth it to look to see if there's a solution that can help you save those 10 seconds.
It's also
Uh,
bigger than that too, because let's say you could take you 10 seconds to do that task if you wrote the follow-up email right after you had the meeting, but you have another meeting and now you have to go back and remember what you wanted to send. It's going to take you 10 times longer. Well, if you have the
right.
ability to send it out right now, or if you have an automation, and a technology to help you send it out, it's going to go far deeper than that, in terms of the time savings, I think, when you actually add it all up.
Yeah, so I've kind of given you the mentality, I've given you the reasons, why I think it's important to do this workshopping for yourself to give you that time back. But I don't want you to feel like this is an incredibly daunting journey because of two really important things to keep in mind. Many of the tools that can help you with a lot of these tasks are free to at least try or just to use. Um, There are a lot of freemium models, and I believe there's a tool for almost everything that's out there today. And many of them are free to try or just completely free with a premium model that's offered that has other features. Should you really find that you're getting a lot out of the tool and you want to actually pay and believe the cost is worth it on a monthly or annual basis, um, you won't have to pay very often for trying something for 7 days, 30 days, whatever it may be, and seeing if it's going to work for you and your business. So that's one thing to really take to heart. And number two, a lot of these tools require very little labor to set up or very little kind of custom coding or advanced knowledge of any of these technologies or the underlying technologies. So not only are they free to try, but they often don't require that much work to be able to set up, or all of the work is kind of upfront, and once you've set it up, it just kind of runs like clockwork in the background, right? So I don't want people to feel discouraged. Oh, I should have had this evaluation done on myself for a long, long time, but now I feel like I'm behind the eight ball. It's gonna, cost X amount, or it's gonna take a lot of work. A lot of this stuff just requires you to sit with it for an hour, 2 hours. And once you've done that work, everything just gets better from there, and you're reaping the rewards of bringing that technology online. And a lot of these tools, marketed out of the wazoo. Tech companies understand that marketing, onboarding education are extremely, extremely important. So oftentimes when you're looking at a new tool, there are tons of tutorial videos that you can walk through. You don't have to watch the whole thing. Fast forward to the good part, fast forward to the part I need. A lot of them have AI chatbots or very broad sorts of product knowledge databases where you can search and get the answers you need right away. And many of them also have calendar links where you can schedule with somebody on the product success team and get a 15-minute tutorial. And those are often extremely well worth it as well. So I don't want you to think about the fact that, I realize this is important, but I have to climb Mount Everest to really get to that endpoint. It's really not that way anymore. The way the market has shifted in the last 5 to 10 years, especially, it is very easy to get started with a solution. So even if you don't find tutorials for the tool itself, somebody out there makes a living going on YouTube, pressing start video, and recording tutorials on how to use this tool. People have full-time jobs learning about new tools, understanding them deeply, and explaining them to you. For me, I'm of the age where I have to kind of, become the handyman like my dad was. I've become sort of a modern day handyman through YouTube. I mean, people make a living every single day teaching you how to do things. Definitely use that as well. It may sound silly, it may sound too easy, but I'm telling you, it's a really tried and true approach, and it's the approach of the future. And one other thing I want to really make clear about searching for technology. In this regard, we'll talk about AI a bit, but AI is the new Google search for helping to find solutions to things, in my mind. That's the number one sort of use case for AI in my everyday life. Some of the tools that I've found and brought into our work here at Buddy INS have literally been out of frustration of not being able to find a solution to a problem, going into ChatGPT, explaining my problem in detail. I'm talking 1 to 2 paragraphs of what my problem is and what I'm trying to get to, and ChatGPT spitting out a list of 5 to 10 answers that I can potentially pursue to see if there's a good solution out there. The way you guys actually interface with and get the study group on your calendar, that actually came from well over a year of frustration and trying to help everybody manage the calendar event on their individual calendar. I went to ChatGPT, typed in that problem in detail. It spit out like 5 options for me to kind of take a look at. Ad Event was the first option, and we have not looked back since the moment we brought it on. I'm telling you, we implemented Ad Event in about a day flat, and it's been a winner for us ever since we brought that on board. So I highly recommend using AI just like a Google search. I think that's its most important use case right now because I would Google search before, I'd go down forums. People have problems that are, semi-tangential to the same problem I'm having, but not really, not the same use case. So I try to follow that answer, and it's an answer that's not primed for my use case, and I just kind of continue the wild goose chase. But AI can kind of give you that very, very specific answer to your use case with a lot of recommendations very quickly. So that's really the number one way we find new tech, and we find it specific to our issues because I'm using that sort of workshopping mentality with my own business while I'm doing it. Anything to add there, Mark?
I would say also just be curious with the services you already use. Like in Gmail, they will make suggestions at the bottom. You might not notice them, but pay attention to that and try it out. Just don't be afraid to click on those buttons to see what they can do because they have Gemini and they have AI built in. Microsoft, same thing, with Copilot. I once was like searching my computer for how do I change. I think I was like trying to pull in 120 different files into our AI chat-based solution in the portal. And I didn't know how to change all the files. I had to do one at a time. But then Copilot popped up on my Microsoft Windows computer and said, "Is this what you're trying to do? Change all the file extensions, and here's the instruction for how to do it." So I'm telling you, like a lot of them are built into what you're already doing if you're paying attention to what's going on around and you're not like with blinders on. So that would be another thing that you don't even have to Google search because they may be telling you you should go in this direction.
That's a habit I had to break, Mark, over a long time of just habitually, I know what I'm doing and Xing out pop-ups that come up. I'm finding them to be much more helpful than ever, and a lot of the time they're really kind of prompting you to take a look at a brand new feature that's been released that will probably help a use case you've had with that tool um, far beyond the previous capabilities. Gemini for Google Drive is exactly that. Being able to have you ever had somebody send you a 15-page Google Doc and say, "Hey, take a look at this in the next 15 minutes if you can and get back to me?" It can be kind of a nightmare, and we can't necessarily trust our own skimming capabilities. So something like that, like Gemini, to be able to summarize those things. I see 10 or 15 of you with AI note takers trying to enter our study group day in and day out on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I think that if you're finding yourself overwhelmed with meetings or you have meetings that you'd love to be on that you're invited to but can't make it to, using something like an AI note taker as well is hugely, hugely important. We can't be everywhere all at once. I know a lot of us on the buddy team, we find ourselves in anywhere from 15 to 25 hours of meetings every single week. You can't attend them all. So having a summary sent to you when the meeting has already taken place that you can read back and you won't necessarily feel like you were there or you were able to answer your questions, right? You definitely have to pick and choose what you do this with. But getting a summary of what everybody talked about is so important because if this is a recurring meeting and you're going to be at the meeting next week, you need to know what was talked about the week before if you weren't there. We talk to each other all the time interpersonally on the buddy team, but we often don't have time to share everything that we've gone through in a given day that's important. So I think AI helps you scale in that way hugely. So beyond just kind of searching for new tech, I think just memorializing meetings, getting those action items, things that you may have been voluntold to do on a meeting, that you have no idea of. You can read the meeting report and get the idea of what you're responsible for that came from that meeting.
Can I comment on this real
Yes,
quick?
100% you can.
Um, to you can also combine AI with your I don't know what if you're going to use meeting notes type technology, but um, I use, and a lot of us use Read.ai. And what that service does is it not only scans like the recording of the meeting and the actual meeting notes, but if I'm looking for like you know, what is it that I committed to do regarding X project? It will scan my email too. So it'll scan my Gmail. So it'll go through all of it. I just did this the other day. I was like, what it was it that I committed to do for something or for somebody? And it just scanned everything and then it outlined, this is what was you said in an email. This is what came from the meeting notes. And it was just like, oh, it was a godsend. So, there's a lot of different ways that you can use those meeting notes and AI capabilities that will save you a lot of time and frustration.
Hey Gretchen, let me incorporate a question or a comment in the chat, which I think you'll appreciate. So Lori had asked, for those who are using AI note takers, are you finding them generally accurate? Or maybe I can rephrase and say, how do you cope, Gretchen, for the mistakes that are in the AI?
It's not, yeah, it, it's not perfect. That is for sure. And sometimes I'll read through the notes. And I'm like, that wasn't exactly what was said. So you do have to kind of um, have an understanding of what it was that was discussed or what the topic is or something. But for the most part, just to jog your memory, it's super helpful.
Yeah, and I'll say a lot of these tools have the ability for you to annotate alongside or afterward. So beyond just kind of functioning as a, catch-all for what's going on in the meeting, you can add your own notes, your own flavor. You can add corrections to anything that has been done in the read report. And I think you have to kind of understand the alternative. It's kind of asking around to other people who are also very busy and can't remember what they had for breakfast, what exactly went on with that meeting, and playing a bad game of telephone. So I think it's an augmentation. Is that a correct use of the word?
It
Is
depends on what
augmentation
was
a word?
coming after it.
An augmentation of your everyday capabilities.
Yeah.
As far as attending these meetings and really getting the lowdown on meetings. But I will say, even if you have to take it with a grain of salt, you're going to find helpful info that's in there, and it's going to give you a place to start.
Let me also, Chris, if you don't mind going off of mute, you'd mentioned that you use ChatGPT and Perplexity almost every day, and you're experimenting with InVideo right now. Can you kind of share how you're using those tools?
Yes. How y'all doing?
Good.
Perplexity I use instead of Google searches. So that's more of just if I need a question answered or just something quick, you can just have Perplexity on your phone and type something in, get an answer back. You can expand on that real fast if you want. Chat GPT I use for everything else, whether it's developing Facebook posts, um, content, emails. So if I want to craft an email to Mark, I want to make sure it's good and professional. I can change the tone. I can ask it to be a little bit lighter, a little bit sterner. Um, so, that way you're getting everything right. Then I always throw it into, Microsoft Editor, make sure everything's, correct. And be sure to read through everything first. If you're putting any facts in there, make sure you double check facts. But I use ChatGPT all the time. InVideo is something new I'm playing with, doing a video right now for long-term care. Basically, put the script in there. It builds a video around it. You can pay for upgrades as far as music, things like that, but otherwise, it's just a basic video. So, that you can just put together real fast with a script and post on Facebook.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing all that. And you can see just multiple tools for multiple different approaches. And I think when it comes to AI, Mark, you kind of had to push Gretchen and I over the edge a little bit last year as far as using it more. But it's unbelievable to see how quickly the market and the capabilities have really changed over the last 12 months. Incredible how quickly it's moving and how, you know, incumbent companies are adding it to just about every piece of software that they have. But the principle has not changed as far as, like Chris said, and like Gretchen and I have said here, you have to still make sure you're editing and you're proofreading and you're correcting the AI. I think we've already gotten to a point now where people are pretty sophisticated and they can tell a little bit when something's AI generated. So you still have to add your own voice to things. You can't just kind of take it verbatim, whatever comes off the conveyor belt, and just put it on your conveyor belt and send it down the line. There still needs to be kind of a responsible use of AI in that sense. But just incredible how many different areas, avenues of your business can help quicken up and it can help start you somewhere. I think a lot of the problem with the creative process or with communications process is we get blocks and we don't know how to get the motor started. And I think that's probably the biggest value there for me personally with projects like that is it helps you get your motor started so you can fill in the rest. You are the expert at the end of the day. So
Yeah,
yeah,
Jason,
just
I'll say, the key is embracing the imperfection.
yes.
Like just being okay from that from the start and realizing that that's not the end result, right? That's your starting place. Like you said, if it's assisted by you, then you're getting to a good place. And it's funny
Yep.
to me also, I want to mention this, like how many people are so particular about AI when just a couple of years ago we didn't have anything, right? And all of a sudden now you're saving hours and hours, and we're so like perfectionist about what it is. So just embrace the imperfection. Don't be overly concerned about it. I know Carly had a question that we can kind of relate to in terms of are we using it for client facing meetings? Again, as long as you have the right guardrails around how you use it, you can also use it for client facing activities as well. Just have to be smart about knowing where the imperfections are and anticipating where those issues might arise.
Yep. 100%. So I just kind of wanted to have this discussion around AI and how we see it. Oh, one more use case I really, really want to give a shout out to AI for. Do any of you just in your spare time read insurance contracts? You ever read a whole insurance contract cover to cover? You ever hope to do that someday? AI is really, really, really amazing at synthesizing a very long insurance contract and then being able to be asked questions about specific pieces of the contract. Oftentimes, we can control F and we can look for words in the contract, and that's how I got by for many years. But I think being able to ask thoughtful, in-depth questions of AI as it's already synthesized the document faster than you could ever possibly read it and understand it is a huge, huge shortcut that can help you a lot alongside the other work you're doing.
You can even
But
write insurance contracts now. I'm not
uh,
saying that anybody wants to do that, but I am saying that I oftentimes use it for job descriptions or legal contracts or all kinds of different things. So, you know, you should have it also give you ideas on how to draft certain things that you don't have to even outsource necessarily to an expensive professional, that you might otherwise have to hire to do that.
You don't have to know how to prompt AI to conquer the world or to completely do your job for you. To me, right now, AI is still strongest at helping you read things and summarize things really quick, including meetings, and generate ideas and to give you a starting point in the creative process. Right now, those are the three most important use cases in my mind. So just wanted to have this discussion because we get asked about it a lot whenever I do this call. Every year I get asked about it a lot. So we've obviously taken some of the medicine there with the building of Buddy AI Advisor. And again, we kind of preach the use of that tool as that's going to give you starting points. It's going to give you ideas. You should always proofread, check the accuracy, do the research directly with carriers where you need to, but it's a great starting point for you. Now, now that we have that out of the way, now that we've kind of talked about mindset, are there any specific use cases that people are looking for technology for out there before I just mention a few very specific areas where I believe it's essential? If you have kind of like if you want to have a case study made out of you and you have an issue you're trying to solve, and we can kind of walk through that if you'd like. But otherwise, I'm going to go through some of the most popular tools and areas for us. Alrighty. Well, number one, because I make this number one every single time. If you are not using an automated appointment scheduler in 2025, you need to hear my words and you need to implement it yesterday. Because I think that might be the number one pain point for most people who work on an appointment or on a meeting basis is to have an automated appointment scheduler. One that is able to read your current digital calendar that you use, is able to book meetings to that calendar, and is able to scan that calendar for time conflicts. Because even with an automated appointment scheduler, I nowadays get double booked pretty often. I cannot imagine how many times it would happen if we tried to do everything manually. You can even connect things like your Zoom account to these appointment schedulers, and it'll automatically create a Zoom room for you where you're the organizer. If you have a team of agents who work with you, you can have a team of those agents on an appointment scheduler, and you can have it round robin distribute appointments to people. If I have to have a meeting with just Mark, Gretchen, Wendy, and myself, I can create appointment events that have all four of our calendars connected to it. It's a collective meeting between all of us and whoever schedules, but we don't have to go back and forth and say, hey, are you free between 3 and 4 on Wednesday, or 2 and 3 on Tuesday? It will tell whoever's scheduling with us exactly when we're available. So having an appointment scheduler like that not only does all of that for you, but it'll also send reminders. It'll send follow-ups to the person who schedules with you, so that confirming the meeting all of a sudden is done by the platform. That, hey, I enjoyed our time on our call today. Follow-up email, let me know if you have any questions. Email, that's covered for you as well. And the person on the other end that's scheduling with you is being notified so often, either by email or by text, that it reduces no-shows to basically zero. I think I can count on one hand the amount of times that Calendly has led to somebody who's scheduled with me not ever receiving any sort of notice, not having it hit their calendar, and just completely no showing me. I think maybe a couple of fingers in 5 years of using the tool. So if you find yourself in that scenario where you feel like you're getting no-shows often and you're not using something like that, or you've thought about hiring an appointment setter, Calendly is our number one for appointment scheduling, but there are others like Cal.com, and even Outlook has its own native booking software. So yeah, you can see we have billions of different appointment types for just about anything in here. For 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, you can go to program yourself in, time to take a bathroom break after each meeting, or give yourself room for things to run long. You can set your availability and say, okay, for the next 4 Wednesdays, I have to take my son to baseball practice for an hour and a half every Tuesday and Thursday, and you can update that, and your calendar is updated automatically. There are so many different things you can do the more you dive into it, but just at a minimum, having a 15, 30, and 60-minute meeting and being able to control which duration of meeting you offer to people is, a power that I could not do without nowadays, and just highly recommended. I know many of you use one, but just want to get that word out for folks.
Yeah, it's super helpful if you often schedule meetings with people on your team. Um, so people need to schedule with you and your marketing person or you and your, in other salesperson or something. It's just super easy.
And special shout out to when you're client facing, the best practice there is if you've got somebody on a call and you've gone through that first call, things are great, you want to keep the momentum going, share your screen on Calendly with your
Mhm.
scheduling page and say, pick out right here for me the time we can have our next call. And it locks it down for you. And again, uses all that tech to keep no-shows down to zero, keep the momentum going, keep those reminders flowing. And a lot of people actually respond to the automated follow-up email that Calendly sends out on my behalf after every meeting. And that helps them, hey, just a recap, here's you know, what I need and what I'm looking for from you. It's just again probably the most valuable tool we use here at Buddy INS.
Jason, someone
Yeah,
just texted me and I just texted them back your Calendly link as you were saying.
that's lovely. I'll look for the email. Uh, let's see. Yeah, and if you have a tech stack that works really well for you, post it in the chat. We're always looking for ideas. Definitely agree with the dialer integrated into the CRM. There's a lot of cool capabilities there. Um, Email templates are surefire in saving you time. Other tools, I want to show off a tool that's been really, really helpful to me that may be helpful for you guys because I've thought of some use cases if I was still an agent, if I was still producing day in and day out, I would want to use this for, say, applications. But I have this program called Scribe, and I'm gonna demo it on the Buddy system. So if somebody asks me a question, hey Jason, how do I get to the individual product Buddy tool and how do I use it? I have Scribe up here on my little toolbar. I can hit Scribe, I can hit Start Capture, and all I have to do is do what I would normally do. Go into Individual, select Individual Product Buddy. When you click into it, enter the client's age, enter their state, enter their health assessment, enter their preferred funding. We'll keep it at any for now. And download your illustration. Now, when I do that, I have to actually manually add this one. Okay. So maybe because we have an embedded PDF here. Yeah. Okay. When I hit complete capture, what this does is creates word for word with instructions, with screenshots, with areas to click on the page, how to actually navigate somewhere. Now, have you ever had somebody ask you how to navigate something and you've typed them a paragraph? You can cut that down to about, how long did that take? 20 seconds? You may have to change some of the descriptions. You see, not everybody's going to select the 60 option. So choose the client's age. You update the instructions there. You can even choose to like zoom in and edit these little screenshots. Select the client's state. Select the client's health. Choose a preferred funding type. And you can add a lot more than this. I could type a paragraph of descriptions right in here, and then I can actually hit click the download button to save your PDF, right? So I've answered this question with a better guide than anybody would have possibly expected in about 10 to 15 seconds after, making a couple of copy changes. And then I titled this How to Find and Use Individual Product Buddy in the buddy system. Bang, there's a guide. And I have answered emails this way in the past because it is quicker than actually sending an email describing where to go to click the buttons. And it creates a more quality answer than I could ever possibly give in a couple hours time. Just imagining how long it would take me to capture screenshots of all of those different elements. So when I say there's a tool out there for everything, I mean there's a tool out there for everything. To think about use cases for the insurance industry, though, applications. If you are able to go into the Sandbox e-app for a carrier you're going to write with a client and know where they commonly get tripped up on the application and use something like Scribe to actually go through, click through that experience like you're taking the app like them. And oh, by the way, I can add in my own custom copy to make mention of a common area where somebody gets tripped up. Here's the beneficiary section. You may want to add a beneficiary to a traditional long-term care plan because if you pass away halfway through the year, there's back premiums on that annual premium that go to a beneficiary. I've saved myself the time of actually getting on a Zoom with this client and doing most of the application. Now you still have to be face to face to actually do all the suitability, to witness the signature, everything you have to be face to face for on a Zoom call. But you can actually get them to pre-fill the app. You can say, follow these instructions and fill in as much as you can before our meeting, and then we'll do the rest when we're actually able to get on the call. Now your app meeting is 15 minutes instead of 45, and you've basically guided the client to do the rest on their own time, and it took you maybe 10 minutes max to create the guide. Those things are super, super important to me. That came again from another just evaluation of what am I spending a lot of time doing that tech could help me with. I was helping people every single day trying to navigate the buddy system, and I was typing bullet points for where to go and what to click and hoping they found it. And if not, then I would schedule a call with them, which would take another 15 to 30 minutes, right? So something like Scribe is a perfect example of an issue that I had from evaluating my day to day and really, Googling or asking AI, what can I actually do to cut down the time I spend on this?
Yeah.
Loom is another great
Chase, let
program.
me chime in real quick. So if you
Yeah,
use this tool probably once a month, you're probably getting your money's worth from it, right? So
100%.
but here I'll give one caveat. You do have to practice it. You do have to build that muscle memory to use that tool so it doesn't sit in your bar and you forget about it. So it really is important that you do the advice that Jason has, which is mentally focus on how do I change my process? That's the hardest thing to change. It's probably not the money, right? It's just changing your mindset. And once you do it, you'll like completely forget you ever did it. Like I think we started using the Read.ai a few months ago. Now we probably don't know what we do without it, right? It just becomes part of your process, a part of your team. But you have to
Yeah.
take that mental energy to do that. I think the biggest barrier.
I think so too, because you don't want to mess with what works, even if it's costing you time, right? Like the cost of switching over is huge. The reason we use the keyboard layout we do right now is because people are so familiar with it. Engineers came out with a different keyboard layout that is technically much more efficient, but the costs of every laborer who uses a keyboard switching over would be too high. We never did it, right? But at the end of the day, these tools are often made with great marketing teams behind them that help you implement this stuff quickly and easily. Loom is another program. I know some people use BombBomb, some people use another product that's similar, but Loom allows you to just capture your screen, talk people through items, very similar to Scribe. Um, but just allows you to have kind of that more personal touch in case you have a lot to explain when you're going through things with folks. So yeah, scribehow.com. I always love to promote those guys because they do really, really good work. And even if you have just one person who needs to view something, I don't ever have somebody look at a scribe that I make unless there's a significant problem, um, and not say, this is so helpful, thank you. Like that's the only response I get. I don't get, I'm looking for this thing you vaguely described in your email and I just can't find it. So that was a huge winner for me. Mark, Gretchen, are there any tools that you guys use that you find extremely useful? Gretchen, I know like Canva was one of those tools that once we found it, it was our lifeblood. Do you have anything to share on
Oh,
Canva?
Canva I've been using for years and years and years. Feels like years and years and years. Yeah, I use it almost every day. So what I would say is I mean, all of these tools, including Canva, including Calendly, including Read.ai and all of the note takers, um, they all have a lot of features. So, as with any change, just take it in small incremental steps. Don't bite off, don't get too overwhelmed. Just like Mark said, build the muscle memory. Just do something, find the tool that you need. It's going to solve a problem that you have, and just start solving that problem first, that initial problem, and then build from there. So yeah, whether it's Canva. I mean, we use Canva now, recently, well, not recently, the last like year. Um, we discovered that it would allow us to offer templates. So we can create the template, and then through the buddy system, we can add the template into the marketing section. And then you guys can go in and, oh, thanks, Jason. You guys
Yeah.
can, it's hard for me to talk and show at the same time.
Where
I
do
need a
we
van.
have?
I need a Vanna White.
Yes. So something like this, we have a ton
Right,
of templates here for long-term care awareness month. This is just
right.
one example of many where we use Canva. And
Yep,
you don't need to pay for Canva to go in
right,
and make these templates. If you hit use template for new design, as long as you have a Canva account or sign up for one right as you get to this page, free account, you can edit any
right.
of these, or you can just download them for your own use,
I
right?
will say, yeah, I will say that yes, get a free account at the minimum. But the paid account is really inexpensive, like $15 a month or something. And that opens up a whole bunch more image options and just different options. So, if you can, I would definitely bump it up to the paid account.
And this helps us help you, right? You don't need to necessarily be a marketing expert. You can leverage some of the brilliance of our team just by being able to be in here and view this. It's hugely important for Gretchen and Joe on the marketing side to be able to share these things with all of you and allow you to make it your own, right?
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
so, I mean, you can use Canva for something as little as like generating a QR code. I don't know if
Mhm.
you've ever tried to do that for your presentations, but every website locks you down after you use one QR code and deactivates that one if you don't pay them a certain amount within 7 days. Completely free within Canva. Um, I've actually started
Huge.
to see, Gretchen, more and more people, I don't know if you've noticed this too, using Canva for their own personal things, like birthday
Oh my God.
invitations or
Yeah,
little things like that. I
yeah,
run into more people using Canva on a personal level
yep,
every single year. So anything that you can leverage a free account in Canva for, highly recommended. You know, our
yeah,
one pagers, our famous one pagers for group long-term care and all the one pagers that come from the Product Buddy tools, those were made in Canva and
yep.
designed by our team. So hugely important. But I want to mirror what you said, Gretchen, is there's got to be an order of operations to all this, or you will absolutely drown in all that's available out there on the interwebs. So it's got to start with that mindset first. It's got to start with that personal evaluation of your business. Little time studies can go a long way. Like if you classify, by the way, there's tools for this too to take time studies. If you classify a certain task that you are doing and actually take inventory of the amount of time per day that's costing you and really figure out what is most important to get off my plate because it's really annoying and it costs me a lot of time. That's restart. Once you figure out what that one thing is, let's focus on one thing for now. Then you go on your search for recommendations for tools that can help alleviate those problems. And then you just go as deep into that tool for now as you need to feel like you've got a satisfactory solution to that problem you're trying to solve for your business, for that time you're trying to save for your business. Then you can choose to either dive deeper into that tool and figure out its other capabilities, or you can move on to problem number two, right? And so on and so forth until you feel like you're gaining a lot more control over your day, a lot more efficiency. It's a really good feeling when about 2 weeks pass since you started using a new tool that really does a heavy lift for you. And you just have that thought of, wow, I'm not doing XYZ thing anymore. Or this is taking me 5 seconds instead of 10 minutes. So I just highly recommend it. And that's why I want to put this call in front of you guys every year is to really do that evaluation. And so you can kind of reap the rewards of taking stock of your business and seeing what free, easy, labor efficient tools you can add to continue to do what you do best, right? Work should be fun. At the end of the day, you should try to make it as fun as possible. So if you can start to simplify a lot of the, you know, menial tasks so you can get to having more of the stuff that's fun to you day in and day out, that is why it's worth it to put a discussion like this out there. So does anybody have anything to add? Any recommendations they're looking for? Anything else before we kind of close it up and set you guys free today? Cool. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed. I hope everybody took a thing or two, be it mindset or a new tool you got exposed to that might be able to help you in a certain spot in your business. We try to be as tech forward as possible, so we're happy to give any sort of recommendations that you guys need. But otherwise, we just really appreciate you being here. And everybody be well, and we will talk to you next week. Have a good one.
Bye.